used to wonder if I disappeared tomorrow, would my family even notice me or just the mess and the meals that I wasn't taking care of anymore? And I honestly thought that was normal for a really long time, years and years and years. I thought it was normal to feel that way as a mom. And then I realized belonging isn't something you earn, it's something you choose. And that's why I just thought I should talk about how I belong again when motherhood made me feel invisible, because a lot of the work we do as moms, it feels like you're invisible sometimes and you feel very unseen. Maybe your kids aren't listening to you, or nobody's thanking you or noticing all the work that you're doing, and you don't really feel like you belong in your family as much as you feel like maybe you're just the maid or you're kind of the employee, you know what I mean? But to really feel like you belong in your family changes everything. Like, my entire motherhood changed when I really felt like I belonged there, and when home really felt like home instead of my workplace. And I feel like what it really came down to for me was deciding that, number one, the space was for me too. So certain things I established some boundaries on, deciding these are my spaces or my things even, because they matter to me, and I started protecting those things. My bedroom is a pretty big one. It might sound silly, and honestly, you might think I'm a terrible mom, but I used to let my little daughter, she was a toddler at the time, I used to let her play dress-ups with my clothes. She loved putting my clothes on, loved putting my shoes on, and I thought it was cute and it was fine, but you know, she wasn't taking very good care of them sometimes. They were getting dragged all over the floor, and I ended up just over time not liking that. Like, I didn't want my things to get ruined. My jewelry was the same thing. Like, she would want to play with it and I would let her, but then I realized over time I didn't resent it, but I definitely wasn't super okay with it anymore. And my bedroom space was the same thing. My kids would kind of bring toys in and play, and my room would get used, you know, and I just kind of realized I need a space for me that feels like it's a more protected space for me at the end of the day or throughout the day to kind of come back to, and not have it be too trashed, you know, because the rest of the house gets a little trashed. And so I just started basically respecting myself enough and respecting my things enough to then expect my family to also respect them and respect me. And so I really put some things in place that really helped me feel a little bit more like I belonged there too, and that I was worth having things, having spaces that were my own. I respected other people's things and spaces, and I just started expecting that more from my family, and that went a really long way. Connection for me was another big one. You would think, as the mom who's like devoting all my time and attention to my family, that I would feel really connected to them, but I actually didn't. I would miss out on a lot of things in the name of cleaning or tidying or helping everything run smoothly. I was more like behind the scenes, making sure everything was working for everyone else, and I didn't realize how disconnected I felt from my family because of that. And when I started actually joining in on the fun, joining in on the activities, really connecting one-on-one with people, Maybe instead of rushing to the dishes right away, I actually just let myself sit at the table and visit, which seems like a no-brainer, but it's not what I was doing normally. And when I let myself do that and really started connecting with my family, I felt a huge sense of belonging. And I felt like I was a part of the family, you know? I stopped feeling quite so invisible because I was participating in things and connecting with everybody. And that was huge. And the funny thing is connection, in my mind when I think about it, that should be, and that was my primary goal, probably. Like, the choice to be a stay-at-home mom was for me to really be connected to my family, really be raising my kids, really be supporting my husband in that way. But I was letting all of kind of the chores of motherhood get in the way of actually just joining in and being a part of the family. The other thing that comes to mind when I think about, like, so what changed, right? Like, how did I get out of that cycle that I was in, feeling so invisible in motherhood? I stopped trying to be somebody else. In motherhood and as a stay-at-home mom, we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people, to other moms. It's just human nature, and it's fine. But more and more over time, I was actually erasing myself. I mean, you talk about being invisible or feeling invisible. Like, I was erasing myself to try to be somebody else because I thought she did it better, or I thought that this different version of me would be so much better for my family, or would finally, be this certain way. And so I wasn't even letting myself just be me. And how can you belong somewhere if you're not being yourself? Because it's not the real, authentic you. It's like some other version that you think you should be. That, by the way, I could never even achieve and live up to. It wasn't working. I didn't feel this huge sense of belonging once I was finally cooking all those meals like this other mom did. Or once I was more extroverted. I always tried to be more extroverted. Take my kids to all the outings and be more social with the other moms, and it just wasn't me. And instead of feeling less invisible by striving for that, I felt more and more invisible because I was losing myself. I was kind of invisible to even myself, let alone my family. And once I started realizing and really tapping into my divine nature, God made me a certain way. He wants me to be that, right? I'm always trying to be better. I'm trying to be my best self, but that doesn't mean being a different person. He sees my efforts, he sees my desires, and whether I'm introverted or extroverted, it doesn't matter. And I could just appreciate myself and see myself for who he wanted me to be. And by doing that, I invited my family to see that. I invited my kids into that version of me. And once they got to really see me and know me, and I was letting myself, like, sit after dinner, right? Have those conversations, or tell them, like, pull out the puzzle. I love puzzles. When I started just being me and doing what I liked and what I wanted, they got to see that. And I felt more seen, you would think, by them, but it was actually by me. Because how can you, I don't know, yeah, it's just, if we're not even being ourselves, everyone's missing out on getting to know us. It's just so important for us to mother like us, like who we are, who God made us to be. He doesn't need us to be somebody else. And that's why I say, don't mother like me, just mother like you.